Well, Notre Dame fans, the week is finally here. I'm Tyler Horka. That's Jack Sobel on Notre Dame's campus where there's some precipitation coming down, but it's not too cold. It's going to be a lot colder on Friday night when Notre Dame, the number 7 seed in the college football playoff, hosts number 10 seed Indiana right down the road at Notre Dame Stadium. Today, we were up the road here at the Irish Athletic Center, actually outside. Notre Dame was practicing outside in the elements. Again, it's not that cold, but it is a little drizzly outside. The Fighting Irish were on the fields, I should say, outside the IAC, practicing in preparation for that game against Indiana. So we're going to tell you a little bit about what we saw there. I will preface it with not a whole lot. We were out there for less than half an hour, I want to say. So solid 20 to 25 minutes. Saw some stretching, saw some individual drills, saw some, I wouldn't call them team drills, but there, some crossover where they're doing the fumble-inducing strip drill where you got offensive and defensive players, special teams drill, if you will. We saw some kicking. We'll get to that. But, Jack, I'll start with you. You were observing the offense, so obviously some quarterback stuff, wide receivers, offensive line, anything you got, just kind of open the notebook here.
Yeah, a couple interesting notes. I won't bury the lead. Charles Jagasaw, the presumptive starting left tackle to open the season, is practicing. Tore his pectoral muscle, I believe his right pec, during fall camp. He is practicing in full pads and not a non-contact jersey, and it looked like he was going through lineman drills. We saw individual drills, so it's kind of tough to tell. Like we know who the first team is, but it didn't look like he was practicing with the first team, which makes sense. Like even if he was healthy enough to go, probably doesn't make sense to introduce a new offensive lineman to a group that requires chemistry and continuity, and has been playing really well as of late. But I mean, never a bad thing to have more offensive linemen available. So we'll talk to Marcus Freeman and ask him for confirmation about that. Not tomorrow, Wednesday. And nothing Notre Dame can tell us at this time, but it looks like they might have Charles Jagasaw available, which is big. You can never have enough offensive line depth. So that's news. Other offensive notes: Chris Mitchell still starting at field receiver. He and Jordan Faison have been splitting time. Mitchell was out first in their routes on air drills at field. Obviously, Jaden Greathouse in the slot, Bo Collins in the boundary. CJ Carr throwing a little bit in warm-ups, but not really in the quarterback drills. So still don't have him available. I don't think Notre Dame does. Anthony Rizak was wearing the number 9 jersey in blue, which means Anthony Rizak, the walk-on freshman, which means he's going to be Curtis Rourke this week in practice impersonating Indiana signal caller.
Yeah, on that note, I believe when they kind of switched over, and we were on opposite fields pretty much the entire practice, Rizak came over and was basically running some very basic Indiana stuff, if you will, a lot of out routes, a lot of slants, completing a lot of passes to Cam Williams. That's a guy of note. We get it on our message board all the time, Jack. How is freshman wide receiver Cam Williams doing? He's fine. He's out there. He's with the scout team. He's catching passes. He's a part of this team, Jack, that is a part of the college football playoffs. So other notes on the defensive side of the ball, not a whole lot. Again, I saw the fumble strip drill. I thought Luke Talek had a really good rep in that, stripping the ball away from freshman wide receiver Micah Gilbert. You don't normally see the ball go all the way to the ground on that because, in essence, it's a ball security drill. You want the ball carrier to be holding on to that thing. Talek ripped it right out of there, and, I mean, it went flying. So that's a really good rep. I thought it was interesting that Marcus Freeman, Al Golden, Marty Biaggi, Mike Mickens, obviously, spending a lot of time with the DBs, and this is the group that I think came under the most scrutiny for the way that things unfolded in the last time that Notre Dame was on a football field in competitive action against USC. Uncharacteristic, 360 passing yards. I get it, USC threw 50 times, but I think this is a Notre Dame group that thinks that anybody can throw 50 times. We're not going to give up 300 yards. Notre Dame gave up 360. Curtis Rourke, you mentioned him. He's a good quarterback that Notre Dame is going to have to lock in on. So, again, going back to what I thought was interesting, all Notre Dame's brass, the big-time coaches were all watching these DBs. They were locked in. I saw them getting physical in just a one-on-one. Jordan Clark matches up with whoever else is a DB here, just for like contact locking drills, get up on press coverage, whatever it may be. They were getting pretty physical, going after it. I think that's why Marcus Freeman was there, because that's what he wants to see 4 days before Notre Dame plays in college football playoff games. So I didn't get all the way down to the defensive line side of the field. Just the way that this is set up, it would have taken pretty much all my time to go all the way around there. But let's transition now to what we heard from the coordinators. Yep. After practice. We talked to Biaggi, Mike Denbrock, and Al Golden. And I think early on in Al Golden's session, he was asked, Yeah, Howard Cross likes to play a lot. When he plays 50 reps. That's a lot for a defensive lineman. Is that going to be the case? And Golden just point blank said, I don't plan on working him in to this game on Friday. And he went further and said, I don't need him standing next to me on the sideline. So Howard Cross will be playing for the first time since, I believe, Florida State. Is that the game that he got injured in? Yeah. Because he sat out the last 3, which would have been Virginia, Army, and USC. You're going to see a lot of Howard Cross is basically my point. And Al Golden is definitely making him a focal point of this defensive game plan, as he should. You spent a lot of time talking to Mike Denbrock. Anything stick out there?
Yeah, not a whole lot. It was kind of run of the mill. Mike Denbrock's always a great guy to talk to. But he kind of said like the few weeks to game plan is kind of both a blessing and a curse, because like he kind of kicked his staff out of his office the other night and had to erase a bunch of the stuff that was on there, kind of simplify the game plan. Just normal stuff when you have 3 weeks to prepare for a game and 2 to prepare for an opponent. I think after Selection Sunday, not a whole lot there. I did think the interesting note was when Golden was asked about the USC game in typical Al Golden fashion. He said, my fault. He said play calling. He will always say play calling. But in this case, I do agree that he what Golden said was that he didn't go to his changeups enough. Like, Notre Dame is a very heavy blitz single high man team. I think that wasn't working in as much as it usually does, and Golden might have wanted to go to his zone more often. So that's essentially what he said, and I think they're aware of what needs to be fixed by Indiana game.
All right, I promised you guys some kicker tidbits because, as I mentioned with Cam Williams, Mitch Jeter is another guy's name whose name gets brought up a whole lot on our message board, social media, wherever you're looking. If you're looking for Notre Dame football content, Mitch Jeter's name is coming up. One of the first things that we saw after stretching was Mitch Jeter attempt. I think we settled on 7 field goal attempts. The very first one of those, and they're all from, I want to say, 38 to 42, somewhere in there. You can't tell when you're standing in the end zone, but that's about what it looked like. Rang the first of those tries, which there's a defense, there's line, it's a simulated game kick. Rang it off the right upright. He ended up going 5 of 7. His other miss was a left hook, so if you're a golfer, he had that dreaded 2-way miss, which is not exactly what you want. He's missing it both ways. But the ones that he made, I thought, were drilled pretty nicely and would have been good from 50 yards. I mean, they cleared the post by quite a bit. So I know I probably just stole all of that, but any thoughts on Mitch Jeter?
I think yes, we saw what he did in practice. It's really hard to know what's going to happen until you get to the game, because the game kickers are weird. It's just it's all a confidence thing with them, and with Mitch Jeter especially, physically, by all accounts, he's healthy. It's the mental side that he needs to overcome, and you can't really do that until you get to the game. You can practice all you want, but once you get to a college football playoff game in cold and what I believe is supposed to be very windy weather Saturday night,
it's not kicking conditions.
It's not kicking conditions. So again, you never know. I want to say he went 5 of 7 in this practice, but again, you never know. And if I were Marcus Freeman, I would lean towards going for it on 4th and short in field goal range.
And on that last note, I asked Marty Biaggi, how confident are you? And, of course, it was a little bit of a stock answer, but he said, our job on the special teams unit is to go out there and make a field goal. If Marcus Freeman is asking us, hey, go make this 42-yard field goal, Biaggi, everyone that he oversees, is going to do everything in their power to get that done. Now, the problem is it's only happened 8 of 18 times this season. Jeter is not the only one to miss a field goal attempt. It's been operationally tough. So if that's what it comes down to at Notre Dame Stadium, hold your breath. Yeah. You're going to get chills in a bad way, and it's going to be cold. You're going to have a shiver running down your spine, basically, if that's what it comes down to. But it could, because these are 2 really good football teams. I think that's the overarching theme, talking to everyone that we talked to in the last 24 hours, Jack, from Freeman to players to the coordinators. Indiana's good. This is going to be a good football game. Notre Dame is good, too, and they're here for a reason. So I can speak for you probably. I can't wait to cover this thing. I know you can't wait to cover this thing. And we'll have so much more coverage here on this YouTube channel leading up to there. And definitely go to blueandgold.com as well for some written content. So we will see you guys there, here, and then definitely at Notre Dame Stadium on Friday.